You know, one of the most vital issues for voters, as you all know, heading into this presidential election, is the fight for reproductive rights. And Vice President Harris says she's willing to go to historic lengths to win this battle. Take a look.
I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe, and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
Shame on her. She knows that filibuster is the holy grail of democracy.
You're not going to endorse her?
I'm not endorsing her. No.
Well, we ain't endorsing you. How about that?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about Joe Biden on The View, who apparently has found some time in his not so busy schedule to sit down with the cackling hands on The View so they could kiss his ass for about 15 to 20 minutes straight, right? Because that's essentially what this interview was. It was an ass-kissing fest.
After 50 years of proud public service, President Joe Biden stepped up to lead us out of the dark, a very divisive era, and became one of the most substantial presidents of the past half century. We are beyond honored to welcome the 46th President of the United States to our table, President Joe Biden.
Mr. President, it was only 2 months ago that you decided to step aside from seeking re-election, putting your country first above any personal ambition, and passing the torch to the vice. And you passed the torch to Vice President Kamala Harris. What have these past 2 months felt like, and are you at peace with your decision?
I am at peace with my decision. Look,
basically celebrating Joe Biden for 15 to 20 minutes straight for saving democracy, right? For not being selfish and stepping down, allowing Kamala Harris to be the Democrat nominee for president in order to have the best chance of beating Trump, or at the very least, that's the story that they want to write in the history books, right? That is what they want the American people to believe, that this is what Joe Biden did and that this is what happened. But that's not exactly what happened. And Joe Biden was confronted with a series of questions on The View that I found his answers to be fascinating, especially when he was talking about Kamala Harris and passing the torch to Kamala Harris. He gave a very interesting response to that, in which I think he accidentally throws Kamala Harris under the bus, because he basically admits that Kamala Harris was, in fact, responsible for a vast majority of his disastrous policies that are very, very, very unpopular in this country, okay? I mean, that's part of the reason why he had to drop out, is because the country was in such bad shape that, along with his cognitive deterioration, it was just too much. And Kamala is low-key trying to distance herself from Biden and the disaster that his administration is. And Biden coming out and basically saying that, well, I delegated a lot of the responsibility to Kamala Harris, is definitely not a good thing for Joe Biden to say about Kamala Harris at this point in her campaign. Take a look.
Well, Mr. President, the vice president has been working hard to get her message out to voters, and she's been drawing large crowds. Crowds are a thing for some people. There is momentum among Democrats.
For as long as you count, right?
There is some momentum among Democrats that we're seeing. As the only person who has ever beaten Trump, what advice have you given the vice president about how to win?
Be herself. Look, she is smart as hell, number one.
Yeah.
She's tough. She was a first-rate prosecutor. She is a United States senator of significant consequence. And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy. Look, the one thing we have in common, she and I, two basic things that are different, departed from some Democrats, some past Democratic notions. We thought the way to build this country and build the economy, which was left in tatters,
Yeah.
was to build a middle class.
Right.
To build a middle class from the bottom up. It would increase. It would give the poor folks an opportunity, give the middle class a chance to grow, and the wealthy could still do well. They should start paying their taxes.
They should. Yes.
But all kidding. And the other thing is that I don't know all of a sudden how we're so down on the prospects of America. There's nothing we've ever set out to do we haven't been able to do as a people, and we've done it together. Nothing. And so I just think she has the energy, she has the intelligence, she has the grit, she has the stamina, and she has the guts to do the right thing.
Yes.
Yeah, except it seems as if she doesn't have the guts to sit down for an actual tough interview, right? We're actually going to talk about the interview that she's going to do on MSNBC later today with Stephanie Ruhle, who is a Trump deranged MSNBC host, right? So again, she apparently has all these great attributes according to Joe Biden, but yet she's failing to show us these attributes in the interviews that she's done thus far, because she definitely has not showed us grit, intelligence. She definitely hasn't showed us any intelligence whatsoever, or any of the things that Joe Biden was talking about. But what I think that Joe Biden said there that was really the most telling was when he said that, hey, you know, as vice president, there isn't anything that I done or that I accomplished that she couldn't have accomplished. And this is why he delegated assignments and responsibilities to her having to do with domestic and foreign policy, right? So basically what Joe Biden is admitting, okay, is that, hey, Kamala Harris was responsible for the Biden agenda, right? So when it comes to inflation, the economy, the border, Ukraine, Afghanistan, Israel, okay, all of that, Kamala Harris, right? Kamala Harris was in on this. She has to take some responsibility for it because Joe Biden said that, hey, she was responsible as vice president, right? So when these people come out here and talk about how, well, she was VP and she couldn't do anything as VP. No. Joe Biden has made it clear it was a collaborative effort, right? That the Biden agenda was the Kamala Harris agenda, right? So everything that Joe Biden supported, okay? You talk about the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act that actually did not reduce inflation, actually made inflation worse. The infrastructure legislation, the bill where you have a bunch of projects that have not been started yet, although we spent billions of dollars, right? Like, for example, to connect broadband to rural America, $40+ billion. Nobody's been connected to the government internet yet. Okay. You talk about building electric charging stations among federal highways, $7+ billion on that. Only a handful of them have been built. All of these disasters, right, are a result of Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was involved. She was responsible. So this response right here from Joe Biden was probably the last thing that Kamala Harris wanted him to say on The View, which is that she was responsible for everything they did. Because in Biden's mind, he thinks he did a great job, right? In fact, he believes that if he was still the nominee, that he could beat Trump, right? He believes that in his mind. And this is why his answer in regards to whether or not there was actually a coup staged against him, that Nancy Pelosi push him out of office along with, Obama and everybody else, we all know it's true. But his answer to this question basically confirms that that is true, right? We know he wanted to keep running. And I want to go ahead and play this clip because I think Joe Biden is really struggling with the fact that he believes that he could have beat Trump. Take a look.
You know what?
Have you talked to him? Is my only question.
What I have to do.
Right.
He made the decision for the country. My concern was not about the president, it was about his campaign.
We all agree at this table it's very selfless of you to pass the baton and step aside. There was a perception that perhaps your hand was forced, and some pointed fingers to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who you have a long relationship with and accomplished many things with. Did you feel that your hand was forced, and what is your relationship with Speaker Pelosi now?
My relationship is fine. Look, I never fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that. And although the polling, as I said, Biden's polling was different, the fact of the matter is my polling was about, we're always within range of beating this guy.
Yeah.
And, what I did was, I think there were, it makes sense. There were some folks who would like to see me step aside so they have a chance to move on. I get that. That's just human nature. But that wasn't the reason that I stepped down. I stepped down because I started thinking about it. You know, it's hard to think of, I know you're only 30, but it's hard to think of, it's hard for me to even say how old I am. No, I'm serious. I don't know.
Why is that?
I give my word. It's like, holy God, that can't be right. that just can't be right.
I'm your age, by the way. The number gives me vertigo. No. Yes, it does. I am. I'm your age.
No woman close to me is as old as I am. None.
I'm telling you, sir.
Right now they are.
And Mr. President, do you think had you stayed in the race, would you have won?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was confident I would beat Trump.
Listen, I didn't like the way they did it. I'm going to just say it out loud because nobody says it out loud. I didn't like the way it was done publicly. I thought they could have done this in a different way because we didn't need to hear all the inner fighting. I didn't like it. I'm saying it to you. You were my ride or die. I was going wherever you were going, that's what I was doing. So I just wanted to say that because I always felt you were going to probably do 4 years and then try to figure out where to go with Kamala. Then he just wouldn't go. He was like a bug. He just kept being there. He was like a bug right there. Zzz. So you felt... what was needed, and you did it, and I just want to say thank you, but thank you for everything you've done in my entire lifetime.
Yeah, so Biden's answer there was nonsensical and incoherent because he basically is struggling to balance his real feelings, what he actually really wants to say, with the approved talking points from his handlers in regards to how he's supposed to answer this question, right? Because clearly he's supposed to say, well, I stepped down because I'm too old, right? And he kind of got to that in a roundabout way. However, the problem with that is that Joe Biden clearly believes that he's not too old, because if he felt that way, then he would have stepped down a long time ago, right? I think he probably would have announced last year during the primary season that, hey, I'm too old. Okay, I want to spend time with my grandkids and stuff like that. I just want to be a grandpa, right? I'm good. I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I mean, most of the legislative stuff was done, right? By year 3? Yeah, it's done. I mean, year 4 of the presidency is basically just campaigning, right? Joe Biden was willing to go through all of that, and up until literally the morning of him dropping out, he was dead set on staying in the race, okay? And he also admits in his answer that, yeah, there are people that wanted him pushed out, but he says, well, that's not the reason why I actually stepped aside. However, I still believe that if I was running, I could have beat Trump, right? And I think in Joe Biden's mind, he really believes that he had the best opportunity to beat Trump. I think he believes he's the only person that can beat Trump, because that is what the Democrats and the liberals gassed him up with after 2020. So I'm not buying the old age comments, because honestly, again, if he really believes that he could have beat Trump, but yet he's too old, he could have just stayed in the race and then dropped out after he won, right? Maybe in a year, say, all right, well, I'm done. I'm going to pass the reins to Kamala Harris. And hey, he could have been responsible for her becoming the first black female president, or at the very least the first female president. He could have been responsible for that, right? That could have been his legacy. But the problem is that he actually was forced out because the Democrats thought that he couldn't win, right? That he could not beat Trump. And which, I mean, they were correct. He wasn't going to beat Trump, right? He was going to get destroyed by Trump. But again, to pretend as if the story is that Joe Biden willingly stepped down is just false, right? And this is why I try to tell you guys about how, I'm really concerned about the history books in the future, right? I'm concerned about how historians are going to look back and write about this, because living through it I'm seeing that, no, this dude did not voluntarily step down. There was a coup within his own party, which is how it should be written in the history books. But the history books are going to try to say that Joe Biden stepped down willingly, right? And that he's some type of hero because he quit, right? That's what's happening here, okay? We're praising a quitter. If you believe that you can beat Trump, then why'd you quit? Why'd you quit? I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. It doesn't really make that much sense to me. I'm not buying it. Everybody knows what happened. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. If Kamala loses to Trump, Joe Biden is going to be the Democrats' biggest nightmare because he is not going to shut up about the fact that he believes that he could have beat Trump, right? He's not going to shut up about it. He's going to be on the Democrats and their ass about Kamala Harris losing to Trump. I guarantee you, okay? If Kamala Harris loses to Trump, protect Joe Biden at all costs, right? I'm so serious. Protect Joe Biden, right? He needs maximum protection because this man will spill the beans so quickly, right? He will flip on the Democrats immediately. If Kamala Harris loses to Trump, he'll be coming out saying, I told you so, and this is why you should not have forced me out, blah, blah. He'll tell the truth, right? The truth will come out. As soon as the election is over, right? When Trump wins, Fox News needs to be hitting up Joe Biden for an interview, right? He needs to be one of the first people that sits down for an interview because I'm telling you, what he's going to have to say at that point is going to be gold, okay? Because he's not going to care at that point. He's not going to care. The whole point of him dropping out was for Kamala Harris to beat Trump, right? And if this dude really believes that he could have beat Trump and then he was forced out, okay, forced out of office by his own party, for somebody else to run who ended up losing to Trump, oh, he's going to lose his mind. He's going to blow a gasket, bro. He's going to blow, he's going to become Dark Brandon, right? He's going to go Dark Brandon, or try to say Dark MAGA, really. He's going to go Dark MAGA on the Democrats, okay? We already saw Joe Biden wearing the Trump hat, right? Low-key, I think Joe Biden might be voting for Trump, right? Wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. He can talk all that junk he wants on national television about Trump, blah, 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 blah. But there's no doubt in my mind. 20, 30 years ago, Joe Biden would have been a staunch Trump supporter. There's no doubt in my mind, okay? So maybe some of that is still in him. I don't know, okay? Because at this point, Joe Biden, he's a compromised man, okay? He's not in control of himself. He doesn't even know where he's at half the time. But what I do know is that if Kamala Harris loses, it's going to be very, very, very interesting to get Joe Biden's perspective because I think that he's going to throw the whole party under the bus, right? I really think that's what he's going to do if Kamala Harris loses. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.